Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome and thank you for taking the time today to join us for Making Impact in Private Equity. We're just going to allow one moment for everyone to be joining us. So in the meantime, we would love to know where in the world you're joining us from. So please feel free to add this to the chat. Thank you. Welcome to our webinar, Private Equity Alumni Panel. We're delighted to be joined by guest alumni from our executive education finance programs here at the University of Oxford at Said Business School. This webinar will last for about an hour and is going to provide a unique opportunity to hear directly from our alumni about the transformative impact that our programs have had on their career and the innovative projects that they've been working on since. This webinar is going to be recorded and will be sent out in a follow-up email over the next week or so. There will be some time for some question and answers with each speaker, so please do put your questions in the question and answer section, and also any questions you might have for the Said Business School team. My name is Sarah Beryl, and I'm the Senior Program Consultant within the Executive Education programs for the finance portfolios, which encompasses our 4 on-campus programs, which include private equity, valuation of private assets, real estate, and bank governance. I work closely with my colleague, Clara.
Hi everyone and welcome to the webinar. It's really exciting to see you all here, and I can spot a few familiar faces who've joined us in some of our programs, so welcome to all of you. As Sarah's mentioned, my name is Clara and I work alongside her on the portfolio of private equity and other finance programs here in Oxford. Delighted to have you join us. I'll hand back to Sarah now.
Thank you, Clara. Before we move on to our guest alumni, I thought it would be best if I give you a brief overview of the private equity program on offer. This is a program that's led by Professor Tim Jenkinson and Chris Callas, who are joined by different industry leaders throughout the week to discuss private equity and its opportunities. The private equity program offers an immersive and a practitioner-led experience that goes beyond the theory in the classroom that will equip you with all the tools and frameworks and insights to allow you to apply it to a rapidly evolving investment landscape. You'll explore topics with Oxford faculty and industry leaders on deal sourcing and valuation, structuring and governance, as well as value creation strategies and exits and performance measurement. This 5-day face-to-face course is delivered from the Park End campus, with sessions taking place daily from 8:30 to 5 o'clock every day. We offer a corporate hotel rate for you to stay at the Marriott, where many participants choose to stay, as it's a short walk from campus and offers a lovely daily breakfast. Daily lunch is offered at the Park End Street campus, along with drinks and snacks throughout the day in the club room, and I'm sure our panelists will say how well they've been fed during their stays. We host 3 dinners, including one at Oxford College, to ensure you have the complete Oxford experience. The typical profile for private equity program candidates would be for those who have been working for at least 5 years in private equity and have at least 5 years of senior leadership roles with significant experience in mergers and acquisitions, as well as leveraged buyouts, and have a strong financial background from economics, accounting, or possibly hold an MBA or MBA. So now on to introduce our panelists. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We're delighted to have 3 of our esteemed alumni join us who have all attended a recent iteration of the private equity program. I am now going to introduce you, starting with Olga, to tell you about her time with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. It's amazing to be here, and many thanks for Said Business School and Private Equity Program to invite me. I'm really honored to talk today. So I have a little bit non-conventional background. I'm practicing respiratory consultant in public hospital in Ireland, and I'm doing that for the last 15 years. The reason I did go to do this program was I finished my executive MBA in Oxford inside Business School in 24. It was January 22 matriculation. And during that program, I didn't have chance to do private equity as a model because everything else, but I didn't feel my business education would be complete without private equity. Knowing how much interest and emphasis was put at healthcare during my business education in Oxford, and knowing how wonderful Tim Jenkinson is. I did one model with him in Palo Alto about financing of interpretation projects. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I knew how wonderful he is, and this was another reason why I went to do this program. So, and it was the main reason, again, another reason, it was not only about this knowing the risks and having academic view on that, because I'm physician, I believe in evidence. We all practice evidence-based. I wanted academic view, but I wanted practical solutions as well. And for me, it was all about value creation. I came with very high expectations, and I have to say that my expectations were exceeded. So I just want to pass now on to my colleague, Mobolaji.
Thank you so much, Olga, for that. It's a pleasure meeting everyone today. A very special thank you to the private equity team at the Side Business School, University of Oxford, for inviting me for this program. My name is Mobolaji Oriola. I'm a Nigerian lawyer based in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm also an alumnus of the private equity program at the Side Business School, University of Oxford. I'm so happy to be here. And then why did I take this private equity program? So about 2 years ago, so I'm a managing partner at a law firm based in Lagos, Nigeria, and also an office in Abuja called Allen & Brooks. We provide legal services to our clients locally and internationally. So I was on a transaction which was involving a private equity firm investing in one of our clients. And I'm a lawyer, I have my legal background. So what's NPV, what's IRR, what's carry, and all those financing terms are a bit strange to me. I just know what the law says and how to apply the law. So I thought about it and I said, I think I should go for a course that teaches me the intricacies of private equity. Coincidentally, a friend of mine had taken the private equity course a year before, and she had written, an epistle on LinkedIn about how fantastic the program was. She was raving about it on LinkedIn. So I reached out to her and asked her, is this really true? I mean, did you really experience this much, greatness of the program? She was like, Bolaji, go for it. And then another friend of mine who's a managing partner of a law firm also in Lagos had taken another course, not private equity, with Oxford, and also raved about the education standard in Oxford and said, look, compared to other top universities across the world, Oxford isn't very commercial. They are more focused about you learning, so they're not just about just getting the course done. They want you to learn, so go to Oxford, that's what you're going to learn. And so I came to Oxford. And in fact, I was so happy I came. I have so many things to say, but I think I'll pass on to my colleague right now to just say some things also too. So I'll pass on to Bolormaa. I'm not sure if I got her name correctly.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
So thank you very much. And again, like my colleagues, I would like to thank executive program at Said Business School, and to allow me to talk about my experience at private equity program. I'm actually a banker. I'm a repat from after working many years at the investment bank in Wall Street. I returned to Mongolia in 2010, 2009 with goal of establishing a private equity fund. And that's it, the timing and many other things pushed this sort of like a idea for a few years. And just 2 years ago, I was awarded a majority shareholding of an asset management company of one of the largest financial group in Mongolia, based on the experience I had on a turnaround of their major company within the group. And obviously that piqued again my interest in private equity. And then Clara approached us, and I actually saw, I think on LinkedIn, about the private equity program. I think the timing was perfect, and then we were in discussion with Clara close to 2 years, because I wasn't sure if I should be going into this program or not. And hence I also want to thank the team and Clara as well on keeping the diversity of the program, of the participants, you know, pushing the gender boundaries, and to have more private equity fund managers in not just in developed countries, but also in emerging countries, right? So I think the program itself was absolutely wonderful. This is one of the things I really long to actually go and brush up my knowledge on private equity. Of course, the faculty, including the wonderful, great Tim Jenkinson and all other guest speakers on the program, was very enticing. And more importantly, I think peer learning, when you have such a diverse group of so many different industries, so many different companies and geographies, I think I can assure you, it will be absolutely wonderful. And Clara mentioned, and Sarah, you mentioned about the food. I enjoyed very much the food and the settings, and obviously, the beer drinking after the program with our peers, so that was wonderful. Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. It's just wonderful to have that introduction firsthand from all of you. It makes us so happy to have you return and be sharing your experiences with us. So guests, please do continue to keep popping those questions down for us. We're monitoring them and we will address them after the panel. But I would love to be able to hand over now to Clara and the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you for your introductions. It's really brilliant to see you all, and having spoken to you before you came to the program, and talking to you during and afterwards, it's really a great opportunity to kind of understand what you're doing now, having left the program a few years or months ago. I guess the biggest question we get asked all the time, and I'm quite curious to ask you as well, is there's a lot of programs out there that teach about private equity, about investing, but we're quite curious to know, and a lot of people ask us this all the time, but we'd like to hear your point of view. What was it specifically about Oxford that drew you to it? I can see you nodding a lot, Bolormaa, so perhaps we should start with you.
Well, everybody, as you said, there are so many programs on private equity. You can probably study yourself and many other things, right? So what drove me to Oxford program is that it's not just about private equity. I'm actually very passionate about impact investing, venture funding, and etc. Right? So impact, this combination of private equity, impact investing, as well as sort of like bringing fund managers and companies and like my colleagues on the panel, diverse views on not just from developed countries but also emerging markets was very, very key, factor in signing up for this project. I don't think you'll find a program that provides you all the insights in one package, let's put it that way, right? And then, of course, you have a very wonderful sprinkle of all these guest speakers, which actually really give you a real world insights onto the private equity structures, private equity trends, and many other things, and that are very, very helpful when you start running your own fund.
Thank you so much for that question, for answering that question and giving us some real insights into your experience. Perhaps I should hand it over to Olga. Olga, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, thank you so much. I have to admit, I was very biased when I was going and choosing this program. When I was applying for EMBA, I applied only for Oxford, and I didn't look for any other business schools. So I think what making Oxford unique is combination of very strong academia. You're guaranteed that there will be the best of the world, say professors who are most cited, their fantastic achievements and their own books and publications. You're exposed to experts, best in the world experts. But it's also, as Bolormaa mentioned, it's all about if you want to change the world, to be equipped how to do that, to make impact in positive way, you go to Oxford. Oxford is amazing in that, and it's amazing in attracting people. I don't know how you guys doing that. You just the best people in the world during MBA, I saw the same. During the private equity course, I saw the same. The diversity is amazing. The exposure of to different, not only countries, continents, to different industries, it's amazing. I was a little bit worried that I will be coming to the course, the room will be full of men in suits, bankers, running private equity funds. And I was very pleasantly surprised that, yes, there were a lot of men in suits, bankers, but there were a lot of inspiring women like Bolormaa. And there was very high proportion of women. And it was so inspiring to talk to them and to talk to everyone. Everyone is so, everybody has a story, and it's amazing story. And I think what making people different when they come to Oxford, people with drive already. Okay, they're all driven by the willingness to make impact in the world. And the best place to learn how to do that is Oxford. And another thing is that Oxford is such a beautiful place. I have to say, for me to come to do another week in Oxford doing private equity program was just to be another week in Oxford. It's such an amazing place, and thank you so much for bringing us to these wonderful dinners. And college dinners, it's unforgettable experience for everybody. And then during this beautiful dinner, there will be wonderful speeches by wonderful professors. It's just unforgettable experience. So I think because expectation could be high, and but again, if they will be exceeded, and I think whole journey will be transformational. That's what I like most about Oxford.
Thank you, Olga. And yeah, it's so good to hear your continuity of your journey through the Yemba through to coming back to us. So really grateful for you to share that feedback with us. Mobolaji, I must admit, when she was talking about coming to Oxford, I saw you nodding your head. Did you have the best experience? Is that why you chose to come here? Was it particularly Oxford that drove you?
When you said Oxford is a beautiful place, I cannot overemphasize that Oxford is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. I like the culture in Oxford. So the people in Oxford are so cool, are so calm. It was a lovely experience. The Marriott Hotel where we stayed was very clean. The distance from, even the walking distance from the Marriott to the campus and back, it felt like I was on a holiday, but I was learning on holiday. It was a fantastic experience, and I would always encourage everybody to come to Oxford, take a course, do your MBA here. Come again. I'm coming back, for another course again. But interestingly, after my private equity course, I came back for a conference called the Oxford Africa Business Conference. So I came again last year, and I stayed in Marriott again. So I'm so happy. I'm a part of Oxford. I'm proud of Oxford, and I'll always carry the name everywhere I go. So yeah, that's my experience at Oxford. Olga wanted to say something.
Yes, I just wanted to add to that absolutely, I would love to come as well. And especially if there will be anything like refresher, maybe not full course, but refresh a few days. As for example, there is Ember Inspires. It's almost like your software update that you need to do it on a regular basis because the situation changing so quickly in the world. But another thing I wanted to mention that their exposure to phenomenal alumni network is another massive thing that we're getting after doing this program, and this is impossible to overestimate. And again, being part of this alumni business network that is led by business school and as well by students or former students. There will be a lot of meetings, a lot of networking, a lot of inspiring conversations. And that is something that is precious.
Mobolaji and Olga, thank you so much. And I guess the big thing that we talk about is the network and the impact. Mobolaji, perhaps you could go into sort of how impactful has it been with the network and the alumni experience after the program?
The networking has been amazing. I have a mentor who owns the largest law firm in Nigeria and arguably in Africa. Who actually told me if you go to Oxford, your network is going to transform sporadically. And I'm telling you, I came to Oxford and my network has grown in leaps and bounds. How has it grown? I'll give you a few examples. I have a client, a fintech company, that's financial technology company, founded by a Nigerian but headquartered in the US. And we're having a conversation one day about creating a fund. The fund will invest in a private equity firm, and the fund will raise capital from retail across Africa. And then I was thinking, who can I speak to? Do I know anybody in private equity? I'm like, I just finished a course in private equity at Oxford. I know everybody in the private equity space, and I was able to broker a meeting between my clients and Jeffrey Goldstein, one of our classmates at Oxford, who then they had a conversation and then they've gone on with their own conversation. Another impact is I even closed a client, from someone I met in Oxford who's into logistics right now. In fact, when we were in Oxford in class, he said, "Brad, can I have your email address?" And he sent me an email while we were in class about a transaction going on in Nigeria that he needed my team in Nigeria to work on. So before I left Oxford, I already closed a new client from Oxford. At another time, I had a child. I needed a lawyer in Hong Kong. I needed someone to speak to in Hong Kong. I just sent a message to our, because we have a group from our class. I just sent the group and said, "Does anybody here know a lawyer in Hong Kong?" 3 people sent me 3 different lawyers in Hong Kong from my class. So the network is so powerful. I know that if I need anything across the world today, I don't have to drop a message on the group and say, "Hey guys, I need XYZ in any country." I know I'm going to get it. So the network has been transformational. Even my clients, just knowing that if they call on me, they know I can call on anybody across the world for a problem to solve that makes me more valuable to my clients. In fact, one of my clients has said, "Bolaji, you're my right-hand man. Even though you're not my employee, you're my chief of staff, because I know that you have that network." And Oxford really did that for me. So special shout out to Oxford. And I encourage everyone to please come to Oxford. The network is really a game changer.
Thank you. And it's really good. I think we talk about it a lot, the immediate impacts that come from starting a program like this, because you are in a room with really experienced professionals who are getting things done. They're not at the beginning of their careers. They're dealing with a lot of transactions, a lot of funds. They're in motion, might I say, with a lot of things that's happening. Bolormaa, perhaps you can share, do you have anything impactful or something in particular that you wanted to share with us about your time there?
Absolutely. I think this is a very relevant question, and obviously people want just not to network, but learn stuff that they can apply immediately. So upon my return, we have 2 funds, and one of my funds actually invests into real estate, right? So the other fund is more of a financial sort of like a vehicle. So I think the holistic approach that Oxford program takes is actually helps you to sort of like come up with a different investment strategy, right? Come up with a different investment structure. And I think if before going to sort of Oxford program, I was worried about how I should approach my investors into my fund. Obviously, coming from emerging market, it's not so easy to pitch private equity to investors, local investors here in the local market. People used to direct investing into companies they like, or they sort of create their own companies, but they sort of this financial sort of investor concept is new to them. So I think this sort of like a very holistic approach helped me to navigate and then create this structure for my fund. I would actually say the most surprising sort of like outcome for me was obviously he actually taught me how to talk to my investors, what private offers them, which is not available on local markets, and then how to approach sort of like the entire structure, right? Not through entire investment cycle, and why it is add value to the local investors. And of course, since then, I see a lot of opportunities. And then a lot of investors also start to approach us as well. Another thing I wanted to also discuss is that the peer learning, right? So next to me was actually a startup founder, a very successful one. And he was telling us that carbon credit market is going to the roofs, right? And the valuations are going to be crazy. And the only carbon credit he offers is a premium class. So my next question was, what is the premium class carbon credit? And that actually dwelled into so many different discussions regarding the carbon credits, how we create them, and what is available on local markets. And that actually gave me an idea to pilot a small fund. I call it a Clean Air Fund. And that is actually to really tap into this carbon credit market, but as well as to structure it, right? And my colleagues, Olga, and I hope I will see you as well on this next program. And I'm now really looking into another program with Oxford, looking into innovative sort of financing mechanisms with impact, So I think one class, Olga is already a great fan of Oxford program, and I'm also becoming a huge fan of Oxford program because it offers really a very practical and implementable solutions. So that's, I think, is something that Oxford program can do for you.
Thank you, Bolormaa. And I must mention there was a key word that you put in there, which is value. It brought value being in the program. Olga, I wonder, do you have any value that you think was brought to you from this program?
Thank you. That is extremely interesting because this is exactly what I was thinking when I was analyzing how everything developed for me. That was not only about kind of financing, leveraging, about risk assessment, which is was useful for me. It was about value creation. So looking from different sides, but it was all about value. And life can have different, very interesting turns. And as I said, Oxford program and generally any education in Oxford, not transactional, it is transformational. So when we were talking about value creation, operational value creation, a lot of where talks about digital transformation and about AI. And as I said, healthcare sector attracting a lot of interest for reason, as well as rising AI as a sector for investments. So that made me, first of all, thinking that I will need a little bit more broader knowledge on AI, which we didn't get at EMBA. So I'm doing diploma in Oxford AI in business now. And that helping me in my two main areas. So first, as I said, I'm a respiratory consultant in public hospital. I'm clinical lead on digital respiratory health in Northwest. We're running digital ward, and it's too bad. Respiratory ward, we're saving beds, we're monitoring patients in their homes. That even to apply for additional fundings, that is one part of the knowledge that is applied. But as Mobolaji was saying, and I want to echo him, if you want to find right person, you just ask people in the group and somebody will have somebody. So this is exactly how I found one of colleagues in Brazil who's helping now to create the tool that will help to detect microorganisms in the patient breath. That will empower them when they're monitored on digital ward. This is one aspect. Another aspect is a very, very high passion is well-being business. And this is where I'm growing, and we're starting with sleep, which is massive part of wellness. So I set up sleep clinic in Northwest sleep clinic, and we're focusing on management of different conditions. And we're using a lot of AI now as unique features, which will be help. So I won't go into much details now. Maybe let's talk in a year. I'll tell you more. But that's how fascinating things turn out for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think Also, what I find really interesting about the private equity program, not sure if anyone wants to join in, is the different experiences in terms of just within the industry of the people that came into the room. Were you surprised? Were you think, I know we touched upon the fact that you thought it was going to be a lot of male bankers and there were actually more women and things like that, but were you quite surprised of the different range of people that came into the program?
I can start. I wasn't really surprised. I knew how diverse the group was in Oxford when I was doing EMBA. And I was talking to yourself, Clara. That was very helpful before the application. And you very much advised on the diversity already. So I kind of knew. I'm always surprised with the caliber of people. And this is always nice surprise. And I'm sure if I'll come again, I will be surprised again, and I would love that. The diversity in industries, in experience, it was so much adding to the learning, particularly when they, for example, like real life scenarios or how private equity funds run. So that was amazingly helpful. But I think it is. It's no, I wasn't surprised. It was, but it was amazing.
I was surprised. So my first initial expectation was I'm going to see a lot of investment bankers, potentially some emerging private equity, managers and etc. But the industries that were represented in the program, as well as sort of like you have startup owners who wants to learn about private equity, venture fund, how to negotiate with their, LPs, investors, and etc. terms, key terms that they may have not known before. But then you have a lot of very experienced private equity investors, particularly from emerging or Central Europe, Eastern Europe. That was also very, very interesting. Who actually successfully raised 2 and 3 funds already, right? And then of course you have people who are teaching finance or legal, and then of course Olga. I was very surprised to find you there, and you were very inspirational, and you've proven to be a success. And then, of course, I still remember our discussions on sleep apnea. And some of the things I want to also to dwell with you if I'm back to Oxford as well as to UK. So I think this sort of breadth of participants is amazing. I think I wanted to highlight one session as well. That was with Anne Fosmel, who is the head of EBRD in London. And across many continents, she manages close to, I don't know how many asset managers. I think she invested in almost 40 countries in Africa, in Central Europe, as well as in Asia, Central Asia, and many other countries. And so it was very refreshing to hear what actually LPs look at, what they define as an impact. And then that has been very helpful as well for us. I know that I'm an emerging sort of asset manager starting out in our local market, but I have bigger plans for some of the regions and some of my colleagues actually for that one may come from our private equity, cohort. So I think that is actually shows you how much you can achieve in Oxford, right? Last but not least, and bring a friend. I brought a friend. Clara was extremely accommodating. That friend was extremely experienced, coming from a very large US private equity firm. And I'm sure that a lot of people were having a lot of questions for her and learning from her as well. Yeah.
Mobolaji, a lawyer coming to private equity. What brings lawyers to private equity? Why do you think it appeals to them really?
Most importantly is the fact that as a lawyer, you must understand the technicalities when you're working. Can everyone hear me clearly? Just to be sure.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so as a lawyer, you must understand the technicalities. You can't go into a transaction, especially if you're a commercial lawyer, and not understand the commercials. So when I was advising on certain private equity transactions where private equity firms were investing in my clients, or my clients were raising money from private equity firms, I understood very quickly that I needed to understand the technicalities. And that's the primary reason why I came to Oxford. But I thought that I'll be the only lawyer, but then I met Elle also too from the law firm in the UK. I can't remember her name anymore. From Freshfields, I think, yes, who was also a lawyer and the class there too. And I was so surprised. So being a lawyer, you must understand the technicalities. But I also want to quickly point out something and say a lot of young Africans who inherited a lot of wealth from their parents are beginning to set up little funds here and there in Nigeria and across West Africa. I mean, it might not be the $2 billion funds or the $200 million funds, but it might be $1 million, maybe $1.5 million, it might be $3 million. They should actually come to Oxford and learn the rudiments of private equity, get connected to people who have done private equity for 10, 15 years so that yes, I mean you have the fund, your parents have left you a huge legacy, but don't think you can do it all by yourself. You need to understand how to structure a private equity firm and ensure that you deploy capital properly. Because yes, you might have the funds, but you might not know how to select the target companies that you're investing in. So I think it's very important that we encourage the young African second generation um oligarchs, quote and unquote, who are coming up to say, look, if I start up a PVP, and there are lots of them, you know, if you know there's something called the Africa Venture Capital Association, and it's also called the Private Equity Venture Capital Association of Nigeria, also too. They have a lot of these PE guys under them, and I think they need to come to Oxford and learn. Oxford is the best place to be. I'll continue to say that. So yeah, I think those are my 2 cents.
Olga, did you have some additional thoughts?
Yes, I just wanted to add that everything is so inspirational. And you can get inspiration from your classmates, and you can get inspiration from the professors, from lectures, from guest speakers, and selection always amazing. So, and these different sparks of ideas, you cannot expect that, you cannot plan that. But that could be changing, even given the not fully changing direction, but given this little boost and something. I think this part of unexpected, unknown, but will be amazing. I think this is big part of that. And I wanted to add on what Bolormaa was saying about Clara and generally the program management team. I just wanted again to compliment how supportive they are from the very beginning, from the admission process and during whole process. I did, Amber. You guys really at the top. You from support point of view, it's just and organization, it's just unparalleled. It's really we had very strong supporters, Amber. Really strong support, and you providing same level of support. It was very highly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olga. It really is behind us. There's a huge team that supports the private equity program. So we're delighted that you felt our passion for the program and that you had a great experience. Mobolaji, you have your hand up. Oh, you're on mute, Mobolaji. Just wanted to let you know.
So sorry. Okay, I wanted to say that in Africa, there's a saying that the problems that Africa has needs to be solved by Africans. And so when you go to Europe to learn, it might not work in Africa. I think for the private equity program in Oxford, the things I learned during the program are very much applicable in Africa. And so if you're concerned about, or if I go to Oxford, I want to go to learn how private equity run in Europe and we have to apply to Africa, I think you're wrong. I think if you come to Oxford, you're going to learn. And Oxford has this Oxford Africa, forum, which ensures that what is going on in Africa, they understand it there in Oxford and they can apply it back home. Interestingly, when James Ranger from Lloyd's Bank also came, I had a conversation with him, about how PE works in Africa, the challenges and how to mitigate these challenges. And it was very helpful, in providing solutions to some of these challenges. I mean, come from someone who is non-African. So if whether you're from Africa, you're from Europe, or from Asia, I think the PE program at Oxford is a great one to attend. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing your time. Well, we're going to give you a little bit of a break and hand over to Sarah for a few minutes, but we will come back to you. So Sarah, over to you for a little while.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to hear everything you have to say. It's so inspirational. And this is why we ask alumni to come back and talk about the program, because your passion, your enthusiasm, and your appreciation for the course really shines through. And you say it much better than Clara, me, or the team could. So just thank you so much for all that you've said. We have a few different questions coming in, a few different ways. I would love to have a few more questions put in the Q&A box at the bottom. So the first question that we've come through is, somebody said they're considering applying. So I'd like to open it up to the panel. And if you could think back to that application process, is there any advice that you would give to those who are starting their applications? Any thoughts? Bolormaa?
Yeah. Application process is quite simple, to be honest, and then of course Clara and her team provide all the support you need. But do apply early if you're coming from emerging countries, if you need a visa to UK, and obviously accommodation and everything in the application process is already there, so you can choose. We actually stayed in a small apartment, which was very delightful as well. And so I would say application process is quite easy. I don't think anything else you need to know. It's just very straightforward. And then, of course, the team provides you all the support you need in your application process.
Thank you, Bolormaa. Mobolaji, anything you can add to the application process, please?
I think just be authentic. Tell your story. You don't have to say what doesn't exist. Just tell your story. I think when you tell your story truly and authentically, the team will take you on board. I think I just told my story, and here I am today. So just be authentic, be straightforward, be direct. Yeah, that's just my own. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Olga, your application process, how did that work after completing the EMBA?
Oh, that was a very, as Bolormaa said, very simple, very easy. And just remember, if there will be, if you did anything in Oxford before, there will be some deduction in fee. So that will be as well. The selection process, but it's very fair. It's as I said, it's you feel very well supported. All emails answered in very timely manner, highly professional. It's very professional process, I would say, and yeah, very very straightforward.
Brilliant. Thank you. I have Ryan, one of our panelists, also who's coming to join us in the private equity program in February on the call now. And he said he's really looking forward to connecting with everyone within the Oxford Expert Network, both for deal flow opportunities and, more importantly, for building long-term professional relationships. Given the condensed nature of the program, do you have any advice on how to form meaningful connections with the cohort in this short period of time? And how do you suggest balancing the academic load with networking during the program? So who would like to start answering Ryan's question first? Is that you, Olga? Hand up, ready to answer that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, that is very good point to think in advance, because time is very limited. Time is Oxford's flying twice high. It's very, very fast. I made a rule just to talk to everybody in the group. So, and using a club room, which I think has the best coffee in the world. This is amazing opportunity. This is number one. Number two, there will be always the student-led kind of events after the studies, and I would encourage kind of to go and explore or Oxford, in the groups, and that is another good time for discussions. And then with a lot of colleagues, we stayed in touch, and then there will be more sessions online, even that we were discussing more. That is still a possibility, but I think just trying to at least talk a couple of times to everybody. That would be my advice.
Brilliant.
If I may add, do your pre-readings. That will help you to navigate through the courses. But because the classes are so interactive, literally from the first class, you will identify people you want to talk to, you want to get into connections. So that already makes a very meaningful connections already. So these 7 days, 5 days really pass very quickly. So try to identify before the program what you wanted to achieve. And then when you participate in this very lively discussions, and you will identify your network opportunities, next sort of like a strong connections. And I think that is, I would say, very helpful. Have a purpose for your attendance, and then what exactly you want to derive from the program. Do your pre-readings, be active in the class discussions, obviously, and then class sort of like don't worry too much about the academics, because it's all case studies and they're done in group. So you don't have to do anything by yourself. So, and that group discussion actually offers more insights of, and there is a huge peer learning from those class discussions. In fact, this was my first question to Clara. I actually asked Clara, do I have to pass exams? Is the home workload is heavy because I'm getting old, And obviously, she encouraged me to apply, and then I'm very, very extremely glad that I actually joined this program as well.
Great. Mobolaji, you look like you had something to add to that.
I just want to add, for those who are introverted, walking up to someone for the first time may be a bit tough for you. So we had the Canvas app during our time, which contained the list of all our potential course mates. So what I did was to connect with all of them on LinkedIn prior to coming to Oxford, read about them. So when I see the person, I have something to use to start the conversation. Go to, oh, hi, I know you do XYZ, so and so country. So that's a way, that's a conversation starter. So if you're an introvert, try and connect with everybody on LinkedIn prior to when you come to class. Try and find out what they are all up to, wherever they're coming from. So it's easy for you to have a conversation with them. And don't be scared, don't be shy. You know what's going to bite you. Everyone is so friendly. If at any point in time you're a bit, confused on what to do, I mean, Clara, is always there for us to support us in any way possible, and her team. So if you're an introvert, read before the class. Find out, what your classmates are up to when you get to class. Just use that as a conversation starter, And then even sometimes something I do when I'm having conversations as an introvert, when I get to the middle of the conversation where I don't know what to say anymore, I actually tell the person, I do not have anything to say anymore. Can you help me take this conversation forward? And then we turn it into a laughter and we banter about it. And I start saying, oh, I'm an introvert, that's why. And that helps to just ease out, the tension. So yeah, I think I just wanted to put that in context. But I think Bolormaa has something to say.
Just a very quick comment, because the backgrounds are different, but also geographically we differ. So anyone who is coming from North America will have a much more advantage, because private equity venture fund is almost like started in North America, right? Then, of course, people coming into program may get intimidated, but there is no reason to get intimidated, because you are actually in a group of very fast learners, but also people who are very curious and willing to learn. So it is actually a very joyful ride that There is nothing to be worried about academic experiences. There is nothing to worry about the geographic differences or experiences that you have within your local market. In fact, it will give you so many insights that sometimes, academic teaching doesn't give you enough. This peer learning, I think, is one of the key assets of the Oxford program. You'll find anyone on earth, if you want to do a fund in Africa, you'll find your fund, peers from Africa. If you want to look into Asia, you'll find your peers in Asia, and etc. Thank you.
Those are wonderful answers. Thank you so much. I would just like to add my small input to that. Just as Mobolaji said, that we do upload everyone onto the Canvas platform, which is basically the education website that will have all your pre-reading on it. It will have your peers in the cohorts information listed there. It will also have a WhatsApp QR code, and we put together a WhatsApp group for each program and iteration, and that goes live about a week before the program, throughout the program, and then we hand it over to the participants to be able to stay connected. And this is useful during, that week leading up. We often have people texting and organizing lifts together from the airport, or the Sunday night before the course starts, people maybe meet for dinner or a drink, and then after the course, people are staying connected, and and it's just a wonderful way. So those connections are built, I would say, quite easily, but there are a lot of structures and measures put in place to ensure that people, no matter what their comfort and interaction level are, they're able to make those connections. So I hope that works really well for you all. And Ryan was delighted with your answers, and thanked you all for such thoughtful answers. We have time for one last question, and I'm just going to ask each of you if you could summarize your experience of the private equity program in 3 words. What would the 3 words be, and why? This was not practiced to the audience, so this is why Mobolaji is deep in thought now, wondering how did Sarah throw this in there. However, Bolormaa is looking very confident, so I'm going to let Bolormaa start us off. 3 words that you would describe your experience, and why, please.
I'd say value, impact, and governance. So we are all here to make a change in the economies of our countries, in our society. Private equity is the beauty of private equity. It provides you with, most needed capital, particularly in developing countries, to scale up businesses, to change the businesses. But also within that, it also brings a lot of governance. And with this governance, you're actually impacting much more than just the businesses that you're investing, but also the society, the way people look into how they should conduct the businesses. And I don't want to take too much of the time, but I want to finish with 2 also key words. 1, Oxford Library, and Oxford cheese. So you absolutely have to go to bookstore in Oxford. Absolutely gorgeous. You have to go there. I bought a book there. And then the advice from the professor of Oxford, when I said what I should take as a gift from Oxford, he said, blue cheese, Oxford blue cheese. And I bought one and I shared with my friends, and it was extremely delightful. So 5 words.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Bolormaa. Olga, can you tell us your 3 words and why?
My 3 words will be transformational, doors opening, and fun. Because you do learn a lot. You feel inspired and transformed by environment, by people, by the program. And it is such fun. And I cannot resist temptation to add my 2 words. And this will be, if you want to make these connections for networking and make experience of Oxford even more unforgettable, don't forget about 2 places in Oxford, Turf Tavern and Randolph Hotel. And they're both amazing, and I hope they will enrich the experience. Thank you.
Oh, that is absolutely brilliant. That is very good advice. So Olga's telling you the Turf Tavern is one of the oldest pubs here in Oxford and very picturesque. And the Randolph Hotel overlooks the Ashmolean Museum and is another landmark here in Oxford, a beautiful place to have afternoon tea or meet for a drink. Mobolaji, please tell us, what would your 3 words be?
Interestingly, I wrote down transformational, impactful, and delightful. Why do I say transformational? Transformational because one, it transforms your mind, right? You come to Oxford, the things you learn there just transforms your mind. You see things differently. Even if you're coming from a developed country like the US, you made someone who is doing PE in Eastern Europe or Western Europe. That's a bit slightly different. You're learning something there too. You're coming from Africa, you're learning from guys who are coming from the US or from Europe or from the Middle East, So it's transformational in terms of transforming your mind. It's transformational in terms of transforming your network. You have about 20 or 20 plus people in the class from different nationalities across different continents who are now in your network. That's transformational, right? Impactful is the things you learn from Oxford just stay with you forever. Professor Ludo, who we often call Ludo, had so many stories to share, even outside of private equity, just about his personal life, his views on life, and then they left a lot of impact on me. One of the days, Anne Fosmal from EBRD and I were walking down from the campus to Marriott, and just the conversations about work, about life was just very impactful. So she came as a guest lecturer, quote unquote, but just the conversation with her, walking down was very impactful. Delightful is I just love the culture in Oxford. If I could come to this life again, I would come as a British citizen, but I would live in Oxford, I love Oxford. I love how it's just delightful. I'm just always happy. And it wasn't just when I came for the private equity program. When I came again the second time for the conference, I was just so happy being around the entire area. And also during the dinner at the Balliol College, right? Ludo had a lot of stories to tell. He made the dinner so fun. We're always laughing. Even conversations from my cohorts during the dinner at Balliol College, was just so delightful. So I'll say transformational, impactful, and delightful. And I'm sure that since Olga also said transformational, it means I'm spot on. I'm very correct. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone. Everything you said was so inspirational and so engaging. So I will just share our last slide now to allow you to know what the next steps can be. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this past hour today in support of the private equity executive education program here at Said Business School. Here are some further details of the private equity program and how to apply. If you just scan the QR code, please feel free to reach out to myself or Clara for any further information. And we would really hope that we get to see your applications coming in soon. This now brings us almost to the end of our webinar, an alumni panel. But firstly, we want to give a massive thank you for everyone taking the time out of their day to join us. And of course, a wonderful big thank you to Bolormaa, Olga, and Mobolaji for taking the time to join us today. It's just been so wonderful to have such engaged alumni, and we really appreciate you taking the time of the day to spend it with us and share all your experiences with everyone who's joined the call today. I just want to say thank you on behalf of Clara and Honor and the team, and just saying thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you in person in Oxford or at one of our upcoming events. So please take the time to enjoy the rest of your day and week. Thank you and goodbye all.